My name is Mia. I am 26 years old. I come from a small, quiet town where life moves slowly. People there live simple lives. Most of them are farmers, shopkeepers, or workers in small factories. The roads are narrow. The houses are old. But there is peace in the air. My parents still live there. My father wakes early and works in the field. My mother takes care of the house and sometimes sells vegetables at the market. I have one younger brother named Kieran. He is smart and kind. I love my family very much. When I was a child, I liked to draw. I drew on paper, on walls, on anything I could find. I didn't have many toys, so drawing became my game. I drew my mother cooking. I drew the trees outside my window. I drew animals, stars, clouds, and houses. People laughed and said I was wasting time. But when I drew, I was happy. I didn't talk much as a child. I didn't have many friends. Drawing helped me say the things I couldn't say with words. My mother always smiled when she saw my drawings. She kept them in a box under the bed. "You have magic in your hands," she said. Her words made me believe in myself. But my father didn't feel the same. He wanted me to study nursing. "Art is not a job," he said. "It will not feed you." I never answered back. I just smiled and kept drawing when no one was watching. After school, I started working. I helped my mother at home and cleaned houses for money. I saved every coin I could. My dream was to go to the city and join an art school. I didn't know how, but I believed it was possible. Sometimes I skipped meals to save money. My friends went to movies. I stayed home and practiced sketching. People called me foolish, but I didn't care. My dream lived inside me like a quiet fire. At 22, I left my town. I took a small bag, my sketchbook, and a few clothes. My mother gave me a packet of food and hugged me tightly. "Be strong," she said. My father didn't say goodbye. He just sat outside and stared at the sky. My brother walked me to the bus station. "Write to me," he said. I nodded and smiled, but inside, I was scared. The bus left as the sun rose behind the trees. I looked out the window and said goodbye to my childhood. The city was big and loud. Cars honked. People rushed. Lights blinked all night. I had never seen so many people in one place. I found a small room to rent. It was dark and cold. The ceiling leaked during rain. The bed was too small. But I didn't care. I had my own space. I was free. I found a job in a bakery. I cleaned floors and washed trays. I woke up at 4 a.m. and walked to work. The owner was strict. She shouted a lot. My feet ached. My hands were always wet. But I didn't complain. I needed the job to survive. After work, I sat in the park with my sketchbook. I drew the people who walked by. A man feeding birds. A mother pushing a baby stroller. An old woman knitting on a bench. These small moments became my art. One day, I saw a sign outside a building. It said, "Art School. Admissions open." My heart beat fast. I went inside. The walls were full of paintings. I could smell paint and paper. A woman at the desk gave me a form. Bring your best work, she said. I went home and worked all night. I drew until my fingers hurt. I used cheap pencils, but I gave everything I had. A week later, I got a call. Mia, congratulations. You're accepted. I couldn't believe it. I laughed. I cried. I sat on the floor and thanked the sky. I called my mother. She cried too. I knew you could do it, she said. I felt proud. For the first time, my dream was real. School was exciting but hard. Most students came from rich families. They wore nice clothes and carried expensive tools. They spoke English with confidence. I felt small. I didn't understand everything, but I watched closely. I stayed late. I worked hard. I listened to my teachers. One teacher looked at my sketch and said, "You draw with emotion. That is rare." Her words stayed with me. But life outside school was still a struggle. Rent was high. I couldn't afford art supplies. I took a second job cleaning offices in the evening. I worked from morning to night. I didn't sleep much. My body hurt. My back was sore. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. My dream was too big. I stopped buying nice food. I ate bread and tea every day. I wore the same clothes again and again. My shoes had holes, but I kept going. I told myself, just hold on, just a little more. My classmates talked about holidays and shopping. I smiled but stayed quiet. I had no money for fun. My only joy was drawing. Then, one night, everything changed. I was walking home after my cleaning job. It was late. The streets were empty. The lights were dim. My body was tired. My mind was full of stress. Rent was due. I had no money. My shoes were wet. I crossed the road without looking. A car came fast. I heard the sound. I felt the hit. My body flew. My head hit the ground. Then, darkness. I woke up in a hospital bed. My head was bandaged. My arm was in pain. My leg was broken. I couldn't move. A nurse stood near me. "You're lucky to be alive," she said. "But you will need rest. At least 6 weeks. No walking, no working." My heart sank. I closed my eyes. I couldn't afford rest. I had no savings. My bakery job would replace me. The cleaning job would find someone else. I would lose my room. I would miss school. I would lose everything I worked for. Days passed. I couldn't draw. My fingers were weak. My sketchbook sat untouched on the table. My body felt broken. My spirit felt empty. I couldn't stop the tears. One morning, I looked at the ceiling and whispered, "Maybe this dream is not for me." I thought of my mother's face, her kind eyes, her soft voice. "You have magic in your hands," she once said, but my hands were now still. My dream felt far away. I felt shame. I felt pain. I felt like a failure. "I give up," I whispered. The words felt cold in my mouth. Then I heard a sound. A knock on the door. Soft, gentle. And a voice followed. "Mia, are you awake?" Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. It was my classmate Zara. I didn't know her well. We spoke a few times at school. She was always quiet like me. I was surprised to hear her voice at my door. I stayed silent. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. But she knocked again. "Mia," she said softly. "I heard what happened. I brought something for you." I slowly sat up. My body ached. I pulled the blanket over my legs. "Come in," I said in a low voice. Zara walked in with a small bag in her hand. She looked around the room. It was dark and cold. My clothes were in a pile. My sketchbook was covered in dust. She looked at me and smiled. "You look tired," she said gently. I gave a small nod. She took out a small box from the bag. "It's soup," she said. "I made it for you." My eyes filled with tears. I didn't remember the last time someone did something kind for me. She sat down next to my bed. We didn't speak for a while. Then she looked at the sketchbook. "I always liked your drawings," she said. "They feel real, like they come from the heart." I looked away. "I haven't drawn in weeks," I said. "I can't. My hands hurt. My leg is broken. I lost my jobs. I think it's over." Zara didn't answer. She reached for the sketchbook and opened it slowly. "These are beautiful," she whispered. "You're still the same person. You just need time." She stayed for an hour. She told me what I missed in school. She said our teacher asked about me. "Everyone hopes you come back soon," she said. Before leaving, she placed the soup on the table. "You don't have to draw now," she said. "Just heal. But don't forget who you are." When she left, the room felt a little warmer. That night, I drank the soup. It tasted like home. I thought of my mother. I thought of the fruit stand. I thought of the wooden box under her bed, full of my drawings. She believed in me before I believed in myself. I closed my eyes and cried, not from pain, but from something softer, a feeling I hadn't felt in a while. Hope. The next morning I tried to sit up. My arms still hurt, but I could move my fingers. I picked up the pencil. I held it for a few seconds. It felt strange, like touching a part of me I had forgotten. I slowly opened the sketchbook. The paper was cold. My hand shook. but I made one small line, then another. I drew my window. I drew the tree outside. I drew a bird sitting on the wire. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I smiled. Each day, I drew a little more, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes just one sketch. But every line felt like healing. My body was weak, but my heart felt stronger. I wrote letters to my mother and brother. I didn't tell them everything, but I told them I missed them. I told them I was trying. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from school. It said my teacher had spoken to the school manager. They would hold my spot in class. I could return when I was ready. I cried again, this time with relief. I hadn't lost everything. There was still a place for me. My dream wasn't over. Zara visited again. She brought some pencils and colored pens. "You're getting better," she said. I showed her my latest sketch. It was of her, sitting by my bed, holding the soup bowl. She laughed. "You made me look nicer than I am," she said. We both laughed. It felt good to laugh again. A few days later, I started walking with help. The nurse gave me a wooden stick to use. My steps were slow, but I was moving. I told myself, every step is one more closer to your dream. I repeated it like a song. Every time my leg hurt, I said it again. One morning, I went outside. The air was cool. The sun was soft on my face. I sat on a bench near the hospital gate. I took out my sketchbook. I drew the trees, the people, the parked cars. I watched the world with new eyes. I saw pain. I saw love. I saw stories in every face. I wanted to draw them all. A woman sat next to me. She was old. Her eyes were kind. She looked at my drawing. "You're an artist," she said. I smiled and said, "Trying to be." She nodded. "We are all trying, dear. Keep going." That small sentence stayed in my heart. Weeks passed. I healed slowly. I started going out more. I walked to the corner shop. I cooked simple meals. I cleaned my room. I packed away the sadness little by little. I called my mother. Her voice brought tears to my eyes. "I'm proud of you," she said. That was all I needed to hear. One day, I received a message from my teacher. "The school is hosting a small art show. Would you like to send one drawing?" I froze. I didn't know if I was ready. My hands were still slow. My confidence was still low. But then I thought about the little girl who once drew on the walls. I thought about the soup from Zara, the pencil in my hand, the hope in my chest. I said yes. I worked on the piece for 3 days. I drew a young woman sitting in a small dark room. Her eyes were tired. Her leg was in a cast, but she was holding a pencil. Around her were shadows, but there was also a small light coming from the window. It was simple, but it told my truth. I called it Still Standing. Zara helped me send it to the school. She told me later that people stopped to look at it. Some even cried. My teacher said, "Your work speaks for you, and your voice is strong." For the first time in months, I felt like I belonged. I returned to class the next month. I walked slowly with my stick. My classmates clapped when they saw me. Some hugged me. My teacher smiled and said, "Welcome back, artist." I sat in the back and opened my sketchbook. I looked around. I was the same girl, but I had changed. I had fallen, but I had stood up again. I remembered why I started. I didn't draw for money or fame. I drew because it was my truth, my peace, my voice, and no one could take that away. I came back to class like a stranger returning home. My seat was the same. The walls were the same. The smell of paper and paint filled the air. But I was different. I had been broken. I had almost quit. But now I was here, alive, ready. At first it was hard. My hand was still weak. My legs still hurt. I couldn't sit long. I got tired easily, but I didn't stop. I worked slowly. I took breaks. I listened. I smiled more. I spoke to Zara every day. We became close. She helped me with my work. I helped her with her ideas. We laughed. We shared lunch. We drew together in the park. The teacher gave us a big project. We had to draw something that told our story. Most students drew pictures of their families or dreams. I thought hard. I wanted to draw the truth. My truth. I wanted to show what it meant to fall and get back up. I started with soft lines. A girl, alone in a room, her head down, her face full of pain, but beside her, a pencil, a small light near her hand. I added shadows behind her, but light ahead. I called it The Day I Almost Quit. When I showed it to the class, no one spoke. Then someone clapped. Then everyone did. I looked at my teacher. Her eyes were full. "Thank you for your honesty," she said. I smiled. I had told my story with lines and light. After the show, something changed. People looked at me differently, not with pity, but with respect. They knew I had been through something, and I came back, stronger. Even the rich students started talking to me. They asked how I kept going. I told them, "You don't need everything. You just need heart." Some nodded. Some didn't understand. But it didn't matter. I found a small job again. A friend of my teacher needed help in her studio. I cleaned brushes, packed paintings, helped with tea. She paid me a little, but I was happy. I could eat well. I bought new shoes. I sent a little money home. My mother called and said, "We are proud of you." That meant everything. One afternoon, I sat in the park. I saw a little girl drawing in the sand with a stick. Her eyes were full of light. She didn't care who watched. I saw myself in her. I went to her and gave her a pencil. She looked at it like it was treasure. I smiled and said, "Draw your heart." She nodded. I walked away slowly. My chest felt warm. Months passed. I finished the year. I got good marks. My teacher said I had something special. She said, "You feel what others don't. That's your gift." I wanted to believe her, but I still had fear. I still remembered the days I wanted to give up. I still heard my father's voice. Art is not a job. But now I knew better. One day, I got a letter from a gallery. They had seen my work at the school show. They liked it. They asked if I had more pieces. My hand shook as I read the words. A real gallery. I never dreamed of this. I showed the letter to my teacher. She smiled wide. "You're ready," she said. I worked every evening for 2 weeks. I drew people from the hospital. I drew Zara's smile. I drew the girl in the park. I drew my mother's hands. I drew light and shadow, pain and peace. I gave them all to the gallery. They placed them on the wall. On the day of the show, I wore my best dress. I brushed my hair. I walked in with Zara. The room was full. People stood and looked at my drawings. Some took photos. Some asked questions. One woman said, "Your work feels alive." A man asked if he could buy one. My heart raced. I smiled. "Yes," I said. That night, I called my mother. "Mama," I said, "someone bought my drawing." She cried. "I told you," she said. "You have magic in your hands." My father took the phone. His voice was quiet. "I was wrong, Mia," he said. "I am proud of you." I cried too. I had waited so long to hear those words. A month later, I returned to my hometown. I took a bus like before, but this time, I came back stronger. My brother met me at the station. He had grown taller. We hugged for a long time. "You did it," he said. I smiled and said, "Not yet, but I'm on my way." At home, my mother had cleaned the house. She made my favorite food. My father sat at the table. He didn't speak much, but he gave me a small gift. Inside was the old wooden box, the one with my childhood drawings. "Keep this safe," he said. "Never forget where you started." I held the box and nodded. "I won't." That evening, I walked through the town. People waved. Some asked where I had been. Some didn't recognize me. But I felt no anger, no pain. I had left as a girl with a dream. I returned as a woman with a story. Today, I still live in the city. I still draw. I still struggle. But I don't fear failure anymore. I know what it feels like to fall. I know what it means to get back up. And now I help others too. I teach art to children in small schools. I tell them, you don't need perfect tools. You just need heart. I see myself in their eyes. I see their dreams. And I whisper, don't give up. Because once I almost did, but I didn't. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.